is a final function. We're going to do the as is and the to be kind of states. And this approach that I'm taking right now, we're going to kind of roll into. So there's let me get into the basic processes, and that way people that are not developers can kind of follow what's going on here. Usually in development, there's multiple ways to go through development. You usually have requirements, and then you get into and that somebody cares about that, usually called stakeholder, and then you have a developer that's going to listen to those requirements, and they're going to break them into notional chunks that they can work on. There's different approaches to that. There's waterfall, which is pretty much give you everything, and then I come back after a certain period of time and give you a finalized, or what we all think is a finalized product, and then you usually punch holes through it and say, oh cool, now that I see it, I hate it. Then there's other ways to try to get around that. That's iterative approaches, which is called agile. It's a methodology, it's a way to do things, and essentially what we're going to do is in the front part of that agile piece right now, today I'm going to go through something what's called a model and design review, which is an approach of using a visualization to kind of show an end state of saying, here's a basic mock-up of where I'm going, here's some of my challenges that I'm going to have with that, and then from that I can start to chunk that out into like components of work that I can work on, or I can have other people help me with to, you know, 'cause some stuff I'm not going to be an expert in, especially when it starts connecting to the wallets, and how I'm going to approach that of getting access to keys or having people digitally sign things to put onto the chain. That component there, I'm going to really have to work not just with my, you know, with my own knowledge. I definitely want to have peer reviews on that kind of component of it. But the basic concept of what we're doing here today is taking the ability for that unique asset, and let's say you have a phone application that if you're using Instagram or anything from your photo library, in the very beginning I'm going to just use the photo library, right? So you can take a picture of you with that particular asset. We're using the flamethrower as an example, and let's say I want to not just have that in my iCloud or my whatever local storage on my phone, that I want to digitally sign that transaction out to a blockchain, to where I have the ability to get back to it if like I lose my phone and I never backed up my iCloud, or I didn't store the image somewhere else in some other centralized service. I have a copy of it out on IPFS, so the interplanetary file system. I have another that's going to be held up with a blockchain transaction showing that I signed that. So there's an ability to get back to that. You know, the concept is that keep that in a decentralized fashion, to where if those services ever went away, or I lost my account, or it got deleted, I have somewhere else to go retrieve that. That's really simple and easy to use, right? The basic concept is if it's on my phone, I take a picture, then I have a drop down on that image, like you're tagging a metadata to it, like where is this location at, like your location data type of function, but you have another function on there to say sign and send to the blockchain, right? That's effectively today what I'm doing. I'm just doing it uniquely with the tied asset on the Ravencoin network. So that's the basic concept of what I'm trying to build. That lays out the functionality that we're talking about in the first phase, where it was, if I had this provenance of when I did stuff with this device, then somebody could reverse look up that asset later on in life and see all the things that were posted about that asset. Because right now, a lot of that's done under a person or a participant, under like your Facebook page of like you did things with stuff. Why does it matter? I mean, some people this may be for some people and maybe not for others. Other people could be like, I do not care, and that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. But I think there's some use cases to where if you had coin collections, baseball cards, magic cards, you know, a lot of collectible type of things that you want to keep some kind of notional track of, like quote unquote a database that is on the internet, that you can have access keys to, that you can keep the provenance over the life cycle of it. And then if you were able to sell that equipment, they would have access to all these unique events that occurred with it. You know, if it's baseball cards or if it's any of this other stuff, that, hey, this was shown at this show, and I digitally tagged it and had the geo data with it to say that this was where it was at. It gives you another level of fidelity and granularity to events and pictures and video. Eventually, it is what my hypothesis is. A lot of these processes start with what are you trying to do? It's kind of the hypothesis of it. That's kind of the hypothesis of it, that you have this granularity on a particular asset. How do you get granularity on a particular asset? You can assign a digital asset to it and then keep track of all that on a blockchain. So that was a lot to say, and where we're going with this. And now I'm going to go through the notional kind of mock-up of it. But the event to keep and capture a lot of these state changes of specific assets in a seamless way, I think, is really where my intent with this is. I want to be able to tie this cryptographically quickly to a chain and have it integrated on a phone, like where that creates the UX experience that we already know. I don't want to like the way I think the way blockchain technology is implemented in the most successful ways are going to be when it's seamless and people just, they inherit the benefits from the rails that are laid down, right? So they don't care. People do not care about the provenance of information and all this. Like, they genuinely don't. And I've said this before with like the warranty stuff. Like, people don't care that there's a warranty until they need to use it, right? It might be one little factor when you're buying something going, oh, it comes with a 2-year warranty, sweet. And then you go buy it anyways because you're going to use it for the utility and all this other stuff, right? But until you need it is when you're going through the discovery of like, shit, who do I call? Is there an RMA with it? You know, like you're looking through all this provenance and stuff like, do I have to disclose what happened to it? How? But if you have this factual sets of information that you could quickly seamlessly tag and then make them dispute it, like, right, like you have the confidence of showing, it's like taking video and pictures of like an event when you're getting pulled over and stuff. You want your accountability to be recorded in some way. There's I think advantages to make that a seamless process, and there's a strengthening of that information when it's now in a distributed ledger. I think what it comes down to.